Yes, here we go. P.M.P. It feels like it's about a 10 p.m. P.M.P. It's only 5 o'clock, pitch black. But it was lights out for Aberdeen today. Celtic put 6 past them, 6-0. Funny that scoreline crops up twice in a week. And as you were just saying off air, Terry, from a squad that desperately needed investment to them all being worth £20 million again this weekend. It's the beauty of it, isn't it? From rags to riches, we'll get stuck right into it all. It was a brilliant day at the office. Before we do so, all that good stuff, of course, gives me like, gives a share, so I can hear at all times. If you want to become a member, or hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. It's $1.99 to become a member. There's loads of years. It's totally optional. The content is free. Piesports.com, Bus 1888 at the checkout, and it gets you 12.5% discount. I don't want to know who that was getting glared at there, Terry, but even I got scared of that look he just cast to the left.
No, I've got the English games on up over my shoulder. So Chelsea have just scored to go 2-1 up against City.
Oh, wow. Okay. Turn up for the books. I don't really care about English football, to be honest. Right, Terry, initial thoughts, 6-0 today. It was a very enjoyable afternoon of football.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to steal Jono's thunder in case he's got an intro for tomorrow night, but well, Russell, that was just the yin and yang of Celtic in the Champions League and Celtic in the domestic side of things, and Yang being the most important one, because I think today, probably for the first time, we've seen Yang go from showing promise to delivering output, delivering numbers. And I think we kind of expected the lineup today maybe to show a few changes, given that Maeda was going to be out. We talked about Home possibly being ready for a start. So those two coming in, when I seen the team lineup go up, I was thinking, do you know what? That adds just another dynamic. We're going to get a look at Home from the start. Yang's got another opportunity on the right. I was possibly expecting that the manager might have went for Forrest, but when I seen Yang, I was thinking, do you know what? Yeah, I want to get another look at Yang. He's shown promise in the last few opportunities that he's had. Home game, big crowd, Sunday afternoon game, and he particularly delivered. I felt we were under a little bit of pressure today, obviously coming off the back of the horrendous result during the week, but also the fact that Penalty Kick FC got the points earlier in the day to reduce the gap for us, reduce the gap between us and them. So there was a little bit of pressure on this one, but we put it to bed very, very early. Game was done in 15 minutes. I think then from there on until we got the third goal, it was just that kind of controlled performance that we've been talking about. And then we kind of just let loose in the last 10 minutes and battered in another 3 goals. So all in all, very, very enjoyable. It's nice to see Celtic playing at home on the Sky TV. You don't get that very often.
That's true. Very true.
So very, very enjoyable. Nice end to the weekend. Nice end to a pretty awful week as a Celtic supporter. And we move on.
Indeed we do. Yes, there was a lot of takeaways from the game that were positive. I mean, Palmer's, I thought, contribution, obviously, I mean, it goes without saying when it's a goal and 3 assists. Then coming on and seems more involved as a sub than what Kyogo has in many of his starts of late, which I'm not putting all down to Kyogo. I think sometimes the system's not doing him any favours, but notwithstanding that, when O's came on, he seems to be finding himself more involved, and a couple of goals today, finishes that I thought are both tidy again.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a plus point, because you want there to be a conversation. Whilst you've only got 2 strikers you can identify for the first team, you want them to actually be a conversation as to who should start. And I've never really felt that, whilst O's been here, that's ever been the case. I've never felt like, do you know what, I would go with O today instead of Kyogo. Now, you did feel that with Giakoumakis. Now, all he can do is do what he's doing. If he's going to have, it was a very important goal he got the other week. This time around, it was 2 goals when the job was done, but the same desire. And that's what you're wanting to see also. Another takeaway from it, speaking of desire, that I loved was 99.5 minutes gone. 30 seconds of the 10 that have been added on, and we are chasing that Aberdeen defence down when they've got the ball at their feet in packs, still, right up to now. If that is under Postecoglou...
We never stop, Bhoycie. We never stop.
This isn't a slight on Ange, by the way. It is something that I just think should be praised no matter who the manager is. And I do think he would get it more lavishly thrust upon him, shall we say, the praise for that sort of closing down in 99.5 minutes that Brendan will get. But I think if everyone were to say that there's Brendan maybe slightly lower key, if that's the right way to put it, than he was last time around. He's not got the same, I don't know, pizzazz. However, he's definitely getting his identity now sort of stamped on that team. And I think you could see that was evident towards the end of the game today.
You've mentioned Dan's there, Bhoycie. I see the hamstrings have started to ping down at Tottenham.
Funny that.
The hamstrings are starting to go. Familiar. That was enjoyable today. And as you say, it was good the way we did keep going to the end. And for anybody that might have left the stadium on the sort of the 90-minute mark, they've probably missed 3 goals, and three good goals at that, because Turnbull does what Turnbull does. He takes shots from outside the box and he scores goals from outside the box. Then scored his first goal with a header. Now, to be honest, he couldn't have missed, but that was more down to the quality of the ball from Palma. And then the last one was a really good finish from Mo, because I probably thought he'd opened his body up and you expected him to go to the other corner, and wondered had he just taken an extra touch, but no, he managed to finish it. That'll do his confidence no end of good. We'll probably just have to wait and see how Kyogo comes out after that challenge, because that was a sore one. So hopefully he's okay. It might actually save him from having to travel for international duty, just depending on how he reacts to that challenge. But
yeah, he's not going. Roger said after the game, he's definitely not. He's going to take 7 days to.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
He's definitely not going to Japan.
It was a rough one. It really was. But just focusing on Palma for a moment or two. So Palma, by default, because of his position and his transfer fee, he's the Jota replacement. Now, he doesn't have the elegance of Jota. He doesn't have that sort of burst of pace. He's not going to go past men in the same way, but everything this guy does, Bhoycie, has got a purpose. Everything he does is geared towards getting that ball ending up in the net, either from him or from someone else. And his numbers, I'll confidently predict, I think at the end of the season, he'll have covered Jota's goals and assists.
I think you're right.
Without being anything like the same kind of player. And it's not, I don't want him to be the same player. You want everybody to be there, sort of individuals, and bring their own skill set, but he definitely does that. Everything he does is about what can I do to give us the best chance of that ball going into the net, and more often than not, it's happening. And I wasn't in any doubt that he was going to score that penalty. Now,
that's so true.
The technique isn't one that I'm overly fond of, but if we get one in a big game coming up, I'd be wanting him to take it.
Well, interestingly as well with Palma, I shared on Twitter, like, there's that little Z account, and he just every day at midnight, without fail, the games from yesteryear that fall on that day, he posts the highlights of them. Now, there's Lubo's debut was last week, and there's an outside of the boot cross from the left wing he does for a Henrik header that is just stunning. Today, and again, this isn't me comparing with Lubo as a player or any of that shite, but just it reminded me of, just because I was looking at it last week, that cross outside of the boot today was just something else. And of course, as you say, it's leading to a goal as well. It's not just being done because it looks the part. Do you know what I mean? But absolutely stunning. And the other impact he had as well, not just the penalty, right, but it's the involvement that he's always testing that goalkeeper, mate. I think there was talk about, I don't know if it was in the chat or if it was on the channel by one of the contributors. I can't remember, or if it was in the live chat, but they were saying about what a Palmer's shots seem to end up in the stands. I can't remember where I read that. It might have been on Twitter. I can't remember. But I don't agree with that. I think more often than not, this guy looks like he's going to test the keeper. And if he's not having a shot, then it's 3 assists today. You talk about numbers. The guy got, I can't remember, but over 10 goals, 10 assists. Yeah, in Greece.
10 and 10. It was 10 and 10 or something. Roughly 10 and 10.
No.
8 and 8, something like that.
No, it was definitely double figures for each. I know that. So interestingly, I'm like, well, if you can do that there, what you're going to get here, and I expect it to be similar. Now you're on I think we need to get along the line that you're saying, Terry. I'm thinking, well, may well eclipse the Jota numbers, if not match them. And to do that, I think
could be 15 and 15. He could do 30 goal involvements.
30 goal involvements. I think it would take that, though, to be of Jota level. I see nothing, though, to stop him from doing that if he gets that run in the team. The one thing as well that we've seen, you talk about yin and yang. Well, if Palma is the yin, on the other side,
Yang is the yang.
Yang. And, mate, again, I was really impressed with him. Not just him getting a goal. There's a directness, there's a pace that he was bringing. And again, not as maybe convincing as Palma with, the final ball yet. But he does look like he's already playing with more purpose now than what he did when he first started. To me, he looked like a bag of tricks. I wasn't quite sure. Loads of talent, but not quite sure what to do with it. You can already, again, we talk about identities of the team and stuff. You can see he's a player who's already been worked on, but is learning his lessons quick. He's far more effective now than what he was at the start of the season. I suppose that shouldn't really surprise anyone, because when you're coming from over there at a young age, that we're not expecting you to be a world beater straight away. But I've liked what I've seen from Yang of late, since he sort of came back into the fold. And with Maeda out, it's crucial we've got someone that can fill that void in terms of getting defenders that you're up against, having to spin round, face their own goal. He'll make them do that in abundance throughout 90 minutes.
I think today, Bhoycie, he sort of got the fruits of his labour, because we talked a few weeks ago about there was games where things weren't quite coming off for him, but he never had. He was always there. He was always available. He was always wanting the ball. He was always trying to make something happen, and it just wasn't working out for him. He just, he wasn't. There was no output. There was moments where you thought, yeah, do you know what? He looks as if he might have something, but just nothing was really coming off for him. Whereas I suppose on the other side, everything was coming off for Palma. But today he got that goal. I think you could see the confidence after that. Everything he tried, all the tricks and flicks, everything was coming off. He was involved in the second goal as well. So Noah Riley got the assist for Kyogo, but Yang was also involved in that. He beat his man out on the right-hand side. He played a good ball into O'Reilly. It was that computer game joystick goal from last season where it just goes down and the cut back and Kyogo knocks it in. We're back into that one again. But I really, really enjoyed Yang's performance. And as a Celtic supporter, I think just way back, as long as I can ever remember, Celtic have always played with wingers, and the supporters have always loved watching wingers playing for Celtic. And what you love is just that, trying to go at a man, beating him, eliminating him, taking him out of the game, and then knocking the ball in, creating an opportunity for somebody to put the ball in the net. And it hadn't kind of happened for Yang in terms of that final output and productivity, but today it did. And hopefully that's the catalyst for this guy to kick on. He's with Maeda being out, he got an opportunity today to stake his claim. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't start the next game, albeit we've now got a 2-week gap, which is really, really frustrating. And I know it's the same every year, but it feels even more this year that it's stop-start with these bloody internationals and things like that. It's just every time you think you're getting ahead of steam up, then there's a 2-week break. But that's just the way of it with modern football and the amount of games that the amount of international games that they are. But barring injury, he'll be starting the next 3 or 4 games with Maeda out, and he's got a real opportunity. And this lad does come highly recommended, and he has had some.
I'd like to think every player that joins has come highly recommended.
Oh, but some of them come highly recommended.
Worried if they've not been highly recommended.
Bernabei has come highly recommended. So has the Korean.
That's another plus point for today. Back in the fold. Back in the fold, Big Alexandra.
He's proved us wrong, because we said he'd never kick a ball for Celtic again.
Oh, I thought he was done. I couldn't believe it when he.
The Korean Rodri has come highly recommended. Hopefully he'll come good too.
The Korean Rodri.
But
that's when you see, from Aberdeen point of view, that must have been the new low. Not just getting beat 6-0, but the fact Celtic could bring on Bernabei, and they must have been like, fuck off. There was a game,
Brendan. There was a game, Bhoycie, and I know it was only a pre-season game or something like that, but there was a game, and again, it just happened to be against Tottenham, and Yang was absolutely unplayable. It's a couple of seasons ago, and you can see it on YouTube and stuff. It's just. It was some kind of pre-season game or something along those lines, and Yang played against Spurs, and he was absolutely unplayable. And they were talking him up as if, this guy this guy is going to have a great future.
I did not know
Working
this.
across to Europe and stuff. It's about a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Right, okay.
It is on there. I have seen it, and then it hasn't really happened for him, and now he's got his opportunity, and it's with us. And let's just hope, as I say, that he can kick on after today. And sometimes somebody else's misfortune is another person's opportunity, and if Maida being out for 6 weeks gives Yang an opportunity to stake a claim, then so be it. And Abada being out as well. So you've those two players who are probably his direct competition. None of them are going to be there this side of Christmas probably. So he's got a 6-week opportunity here to really show us what he's all about.
And I think it's undeniable that one of the plus points of having the manager in situ that we've got right now is I think he will be far fairer. And if you get an opportunity and you take it and you run with it, you'll keep your place. I think he's going to be. I think there is a lot. I think obviously the William Scales example is the biggest case in point, where I think it would have been easy for him to have went back to the Nat Phillips one. I think I kind of suggested he might, just purely because I thought that
was
one.
Thinking more Navrowski. I was thinking more Navrowski. But
Well,
there's today again. None of those two centre backs we signed during the summer were even on the bench. Navrowski or Lagerbilge.
Yeah,
I mean. And do you know what's coming up, Bhoycie? Sorry to cut across.
No, you're cool.
Probably was coming up as a suspension for Liam Scales. He's 1 yellow away from a suspension, and it'll just be interesting to see. That's inevitable playing at centre back. That's going to happen over the next 2, 3, 4 games. And it'll be interesting to see after that happens. Does the manager use that as an opportunity to bring in one of these guys that we've spent, relatively speaking, serious money on, or does somebody come in as a stopgap and Scales come straight back in again afterwards? That'll be an interesting one for me.
Well, I think that's very interesting because then we will see the differences between the previous era and this one. I'm sorry, I continue to compare it, but fuck it. But Angie's, if you remember, that first season was solely built on CCV, Spfl at every opportunity. If one was suspended, Terry, they were straight back in after that suspension. There was no doubt. I don't mind that. I thought I can completely understand why he's doing that. How would you feel about it being more fluid then? If it were to be the case that Scales gets that suspension the next week or so, is it Narovsky that comes in, and then it's almost a waiting game for Scales to get back in until one of them pulls up with an injury or they get suspended themselves, and then it Scales back in or whoever. Is that something that sets you up for success? Or is the tried and trusted identify who your foundation of the team is going to be, your 2 centre backs, pick your 2 favourites, pick who you're going to hang your hat on, and when you get the opportunity and they're both fit, do you play them? Or are you quite open to it being everything's up for grabs? I'm leaning towards the second one, but the recent evidence suggests that Ange had it spot on by going. There was a lot of doubters, remember, of Starfelt's form at times as well. But he basically went, nah, it's those 2 every single time they're both fit, without fail. And I wonder, I don't think it will be the same under Rodgers. I think it will be more like up for grabs, if you like. And I think that's a good point you make, that Scales only are booking away. I think you will see whoever comes in then, it'll be theirs to lose, as opposed to it being Scales automatically coming back in.
They've got 1 game to stake their claim. And they've got to convince the manager that they're a better option than Liam Scales, which is going to be a tough ask given how he's played. And again, I don't like doing it, but the conversation has come around, and it's hard not to just have a passing glance at what's happening down south. But that Tottenham team has been the same team week in, week out, exact same starting 11 when possible. I think it's going to be different under Brennan. I think if you get your opportunity and you take it, then the jersey's yours until either you do something to reduce your claim to the jersey, or someone else does something to increase the likelihood of them being the best choice. So Scales will probably miss a game at some point here. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know what the situation is with those 2 lads. I'm guessing if neither of them was on the bench today, they mustn't be fit. And Stephen Welsh wasn't on the bench either. We actually didn't have, other than Nat Phillips, with 3 other centre-backs who have been on the bench recently, but none of them were on the bench today, which is quite surprising. And if you're going on transfer fees, we're expecting Nawrowski was the intention to be Carter Vickers' partner with Lagerbielke as the backup, but the emergence of Scales has meant that hasn't happened. And those 2 guys, I don't know what's going on with those 2 guys. I know Nawrowski had a worse injury, but Lagerbielke seems to be fit. He played for his country. He was on the bench one game, then he was off, then he was on. I don't know what's going on with those 2 boys, to be honest. I'm not too bothered, because at the minute, the centre back partnership that we've got, albeit we shipped 6 during the week, yes, totally get that.
But it's an interesting one though, Terry, because see, when you actually think about it, without either of those on the bench today, there was actually scope and opportunity to have given one of them 30 minutes. That game was done at 2-0, let's be real. There was a perfect I mean, there was a perfect opportunity there today at half-time, for example, which he's done a few times this season, and went, right, Nawrowski, you've not played really since the injury. They'll get 45 minutes in the legs, but couldn't use that option.
We've got a lone player on the bench who is, in my eyes, definitely going back to his parent club in 6 weeks' time.
It's amazing what a COVID season can do to your confidence, mate. He looked quite the part at Liverpool, but no fans, I suppose.
Bhoycie, do you know what? We haven't seen enough of him to make a decision on
no,
him.
I know, I'm kidding.
He's clearly not better than Carter Vickers, and Scales' form has meant he's kept his place. Nat Phillips is probably a very, very good player, and in another season, he probably would have come in and looked like someone we'd all be sitting here going, "Oh, I really hope we can." I know we probably can't get it done because he's too expensive. But because of the form of Scales and what we've seen of Carter Vickers in the first 2 years that he's been here, we're kind of Phillips. He can sail on down south again. Do you know what I mean?
I know. I don't mind that though. That shows that there's always a wee bit of progression happening there as well. And I just wonder though, with the Lagerbielke one, very quickly, he has been a bit in and out. I'll be honest, like from what I've seen so far, I'm not one just to dive in and make instant sort of knee-jerk reactions to new Celtic players. I mean, I think sometimes it's quite easy to do that, to be fair, and then end up with a wee bit of egg in your face. I think, well, we might all feel like that with in the next few weeks. You never know. But Lagerbielke to me looked really raw. Like, I didn't trust him. I know people say, oh, no, they've done all right. They didn't concede goals in X amount of games, whatever. I didn't like what I thought at times his decision making.
See the game at Ibrox, Bhoycie, I thought Scales dragged him through the game at Ibrox.
He fucking did, mate. I thought that Lagerbielke almost wanted Rangers to score at times. I'm like, what's this something doing? It's like he was trying to make it interesting. Like, let's mix it up a bit. Some of his first touches, I was like, mate, that doesn't even make sense. Like, I can't play football, and at no point would I have tried to have brought the ball down like that. I would know not to do it like that. Just looked what do you call it? Gangly and
raw. He's a bit raw. He's a bit raw.
Raw. Fucking hell! I tell you what, though, a Swedish international right now. Fucking hell!
Well, he got picked ahead of Starfelt.
That's mad. Big Starfelt, Celtic Vigo legend. Right. Anyway, not just that with the 6-1. I'm gonna give someone else some single amount for praise, Terry. Matt O'Reilly again today, mate. There was just that ball he played at one point. See that one in behind? I think it was for the 5th goal, was it? Was it the 5th? I can't remember.
He was involved in a lot of the stuff that was good.
Yeah, man. He's going into the role massively. It's the next level. The thing is, Matt O'Reilly's far too good for the SPFL. But I'm not convinced he's developed into a player that's going to have massive impact at Champions League level yet either. He's in that halfway house in between.
I don't think he did on Tuesday night, but Tuesday night, I know we were on at the time and we were upset and we were annoyed and all the rest, but being down to 10 men so early on had a real impact on that game. And O'Reilly did perform in the previous Champions League games. He had key involvements in both the games against Lazio and Atletico, both home games. He was involved in everything that was good from a Celtic perspective. So I don't think we can turn around and say he can't do it in Europe because he didn't do it away to Atletico Madrid when we were down to 10 men. So I think looking back in the cold light of day, I'm happy to write a lot of Tuesday night off. Yes, it was embarrassing. Yes, you don't want to sit there and watch your side conceding goal after goal after goal. But we needed so many things to go right on Tuesday night. And one of those was to keep every single player on the pitch. But O'Reilly today, and I think if he can get the time and the space, which he tends to do domestically in, well, virtually every game this season, he's had key involvements in everything that's been good about Celtic play. And in Europe, for 2 of the 4 games, he has also had key involvements. If he gets time and space, he will kill teams. He'll absolutely kill them. And his trajectory from League One player to someone who's doing it every single week for Celtic and doing it in at least half of the Champions League games, that's a meteoric rise.
And he's also, I think his age, what is he, 22?
He's young.
He's playing beyond his years as well.
He's got 4 or 5 years improvement before his peak.
He does play, I think, like as if he's older than what he is. Sorry, I was grating cheese right the other day, like doing slices of it, Terry.
I've done a wee bit of skin.
Took the top of my knuckle off, man. Right, so like, I just bit off the bit of skin, right? And it was like that, like it was so thick. I actually was like, that's disgusting. And now I've just noticed it just to be.
Well, see, just out of interest,
distracted me.
Is your apartment nice and clean? Is it?
Aye, mate. I've got a cleaner.
I'm going to be around there in 2 weeks.
No, I know, mate. I'm looking forward to it.
Hopefully, we're doing post-match pish from your apartment in a couple of weeks.
I've got stools and all that set up, so we'll just get the webcam just situated somewhere.
Well, at the minute, I'm coming over with my brother. I've got 2 nights booked, hotels, flights, the whole thing, and I have no tickets for the match. So I'm going to try my best to get tickets for the game over the next couple of weeks. But do you know what? See, by the time I get on the plane, if I haven't got a ticket for the match, I'm just going to come straight across to you. I can't be bothered. I know I could go up to Celtic Park and stand there in the pissing rain and get tickets, but I can't be arsed with that. So
no.
If I haven't got a match ticket by the time I get on the plane, I'm just going to come straight across to yours.
Hey, mate, you're welcome here anytime.
We'll listen to it on Radio Scotland, and then we'll do the post-match.
Yeah, we'll listen to it on Radio Scotland, mate, because, hey, no dodgy boxes here, mate. You know me.
Or that kind of stuff.
Oh, no, I don't. I'd rather listen to Richard Gordon, mate. I'm a big fan of the bus as well. But I look forward to that, mate. But it'd be quite cool because we can get the setup right for it to be. It'll be like okay. I think we just need to get.
It'll just be like a studio.
Just need somewhere to get I need like a wee tripod. I'll buy a tripod for the webcam.
We just need where we're on the post match. We just need somewhere for my brother to lie down and have a sleep because he'll be sauciled by the time he gets there.
Aye. You can just fucking get fucking next door at my bed. It's fine. Do you know what I mean? He's slept in there before. Just kidding. That's that pink top playing tricks on me again. But aye, we'll do that. No bother, mate. That'd be class. Anyway, where were we about the fair ball? Matt O'Reilly.
Well, we've done the first 2 goals.
Right, go by ball. I like it. Talk to me about the third goal then. Let's do that.
What about the incident with Kyogo? Do you want to talk about that from a red card perspective? Not for me. I thought it was strong. I thought the guy.
That was a very Scottish League challenge.
Aye, I thought he went for the ball. I thought it was aggressive. I'm not sure. I think the commentator described it, or the co-commentator described it as reckless. I thought it was very strong, very committed, and probably just on the line of too vociferous. But I wouldn't have sent him off. Well, I could understand if somebody did send him off. I wouldn't have sent him off. But if you look at that, and then look at the Maeda one from during the week, if you look at the stills on both, today's one looks so much worse than the one during the week. And I think the fact that Armand's out for 6 weeks after the tackle during the week just shows you how terrible a decision that was. Yeah,
that decision was baffling. And I don't know if you heard what Roger said about it. He said he's out. He goes, and see if he'd actually challenged him properly, Dyson, he might not have the injury that he had.
It's just when the referee goes over, and as Brendan Rodgers said, the referee goes over, and the first thing he sees is the still of Maeda's boot appearing to be raised. And
do you think that's what's annoyed Brendan, right? Because I know he talks about this still, but it might not just be because he knows deep down Brendan has to accept that still will be used as part of the evidence, if you like, right? For whether it's a red or not. But you think I think what he was getting at though was when he was talking about that is the shocking frame, right? But that's what he's walked over to, and look, that's the first thing on the screen. Rather than the incident being played in its entirety on the screen, so you can have a second look at it in real time, then slow it down, then maybe that frame. I think he's went over, and what Brendan was trying to say was on that screen as he's went over is that still, and that's where I think if that I'm reading that right, and that's what Brendan was getting at, I think that's totally fair to say there's no context there. Because for me, if the referee's been pulled over to the side, it should then be to watch the incident in its entirety in real time first, from a different angle, obviously, than what he would have seen it. Then you would watch it again in slow motion. Then they can do the stills of each angle and how it looks. But I think that would give you that full fucking spectrum as to what happened. I reckon Brendan's annoyed, Terry, because the refs walked over and they've had that still on the screen. And he went, that's going to manipulate his head. That's what I think he was so wound up about. And if I'm right on that, I think that's absolutely fair from Roger's point of view. And he's got a hell of a point.
And there's 7 or 8 idiots in red and white shirts standing, pulling out imaginary cards and getting on. Now, the referee, the best person to make that decision the other night was the referee, and he was in the perfect position. He's seen it in real time. He's on the pitch. He can see the way the two players are going in, and he made the call, and he made the right call. Then somebody in a van parked down the street, down somewhere else, has just put a still in front, which makes it look as if it's something totally different. And once that referee gets the call over, there's already, based on statistics from VAR come in, once you get called over, there's probably a 98% chance that you're going to change your mind. And that referee, knowing that he's been called over, is already thinking, right, I'm probably going to overturn this. Then he sees the still, and then he's definitely going to overturn it. And I get the manager's frustration, because looking at a still photograph is completely different from you being there in the moment. You're on the pitch. You can see everything. You can hear everything. You know what's happening in that environment.
So,
you can't have some guy in a van making the decision for you.
But hold on. Are you suggesting then that they don't use the still at all as part of the evidence? Because I think that's a bit far-fetched. I still think they're going to need to use freeze frames, mate. But I would want to watch the incident in its entirety in real time first. Then you can look at the freezes, but because you've got the perception of the context.
There's just been a decision in that English game. I was watching it just when I was waiting for you to send the link. There's just been a penalty. There was a penalty given to City.
That was a dig at being late. You can tell that was a dig at being late. Hey, just couldn't resist it.
There was a penalty given to City, right? And the referee goes over to the VAR, and it shows him the moment where Haaland was tugged to the ground. As that's the first thing he sees, and that's the only thing they asked him to look at. However, 1 second backwards before Haaland gets tugged to the ground, Haaland has tugged the defender to get himself in ahead of the defender, and then the defender has tugged him to stop him putting the ball in the net. But they've only shown the referee the footage from when Haaland is fouled. If they'd wound it back 2 more seconds, you see Haaland has actually fouled the defender to get the advantage. So when that guy goes over to the screen, he's at the mercy of what they show him. And I'm kind of where Brendan Rodgers is with this. Get it the fuck out of the road. It's doing my head in. You're sitting there today, even look at that there. 10 minutes had it on time. Like, who can be bothered with that? People are trying to get out of the game and get home and get flights and get boats and
for that perspective, there's no getting away.
Nonsense. I think where we need to get to, and I don't know how this happens, is we need to get to where VAR only comes in and it's meant to be clear and obvious. If you've got to watch something for 4 minutes, it is not clear and obvious. Clear and obvious is somebody walking up to another player and smacking him in the face when the referee hasn't been looking. Something like that. Use it for things like that. But see this looking for millimeters and stuff like this, it's just killing the game. It's not enjoyable. It can't be enjoyable. You see the players, you can see the frustration on their face, you can see the frustration for the managers, supporters in the stadium haven't a clue what's going on. It's desperate, absolutely.
It's the supporter experience. See, there's two sides to it. Today, for example, I was buzzing that there was 10 minutes added on, right? Because I thought that I thought it was so refreshing how hungry Celtic were.
If you're like me, I just love watching Celtic. And when I seen 10 minutes go up, I'm thinking, brilliant, another 10 minutes watching Celtic.
But especially in that mood today, and I thought, you know what? This isn't one of those games where they're going to play it out. The Celtic's now just got that hunger about them today where you give us 10 minutes, we'll get 2 goals. Give another 5 minutes, we'll get another goal. I thought they just had that mindset, which was great. So I was all for them just carrying on, right? Interestingly, when it comes to the actual support experience, like, it must fucking feel a bit almost American football-esque, or going down that road where it's stop, start, and you're going to need to start designating, if you're going to the football, not your traditional amount of time that you'd be there, it becomes an all-day experience sort of thing. I mean, you know, if I was going to a European game, for example, I've got to get that last train home, Terry. And we're entering into a realm now where 10 minutes is going to be the norm. I think we'll start seeing that become closer to 15 the way it's going right now. I didn't think today if having 10 minutes added on, mate, did it ever at any point feel like a game that had really elongated periods of downtime where 10 minutes would come into the fray? You would think that'd be the extreme. And yet today's game seemed to be one I've seen a million times in terms of stoppages. If that's 10 minutes, we will get to a stage it's 15 being the sort of norm. And see, once it gets to that, mate, this is what I mean with the supporter experience. I'm just putting myself in the shoes. Getting that last train home, mate, suddenly becomes tricky.
Don't you worry about your last train. There's guys from over here, Bhoycie, go to every single game, home and away, and they are trying to get to airports. They're trying to get to boat terminals. And I obviously I don't go to every game or anywhere near it. But there are guys that their whole life is dedicated to Celtic, and they travel over from here to every single home game. If we even take home games, so that's 20 games a season, 19, something like that. The boat timings usually mean you've got to be gone a few minutes before the end of the game to get out of the stadium as quickly as you can, to get back to your coach, to get on the road ahead of the other traffic. And
yeah, well, everyone getting home is just as important as each other, though, Teddy. You know, it's the exact same principle.
Getting to the boat is touch and go on a normal day. But when you've 10 minutes added time, if you stay to the end of that, you're 10 minutes behind, and the boat don't wait. You could be sitting at Carnryan or Stranraer till the next morning waiting for the next one. And I know what you're saying. You getting home to Stirling is the same as somebody from here getting home to Belfast or Derry or Donegal or wherever. But we don't need 10 minutes out of time at the end of the games.
That's the point I'm trying to make. I'm just saying from a supporter's point of view. I can only do it from my own prism. You're doing it from over there, which I totally understand as well. But it's like, it does change the whole sort of landscape. You're going, well, wait a minute. If they keep going like that, they're going to need to start putting on extra trains, and in your case, delaying the...
Or people start leaving at halftime to try and get home.
I know. Right, talk me through the next goal. I'm losing track, mate, already.
Penalties.
Yeah, right, let's talk about the penalty side, because you said earlier, when it came to the penalty, you were absolutely convinced he was scoring. I share it, Terry.
No, I was convinced he was scoring.
He was scoring. I share it, mate. I share it. I'm saying, like,
I wasn't sure if it was him or O'Reilly was going to step up to take it.
I thought it was Palmer's time now. And you know what? I think there's maybe again a wee bit of gamesmanship going, right, don't make him the penalty taker right for the get-go. We know there was the set-piece specialist sort of tag that he came with. But it's a lot of pressure joining Celtic as well. Maybe it's just better not to put that on them. But once you've missed a few and you've had time to settle in, Palmer.
Let's go.
Right, let's go. I agree with you, Terry. It's the most confident I've felt before a penalty has been taken for Celtic in a long time. He's got a bit of swagger about him, this boy. And
see when you seen him sort of setting himself up square on with the ball. You knew he was going to do that bloody stupid Tavernier style thing, where he gets up and then he stalls and then he does the jiggle with the legs. You knew that's what was coming, but there was no doubt. There was no doubt in my mind he was going to stick it in the net. Now he'll probably miss the next one, but
I don't know. I don't know.
I think we might be on to one here where if we get a penalty, we can rely on somebody.
We're due a penalty taker.
It was side netting. It was into the side netting, which is a good sign because the goalkeeper doesn't save them. Right into the side, it hits the side net before it hits anything.
Doesn't matter if he goes the right way, mate. Doesn't matter if he goes the right way.
So let's hope we found the solution.
Talk to me about O's double. Now these might look.
Well, Turnbull's goal came first.
Oh shit! Turnbull, sorry, off the post. Slightly. I beg your pardon, mate. David Turnbull will do that throughout the season in these type of games. I think this is domestic bliss. Is David Turnbull's remit?
Well, you said about Turnbull against bottom six. I know Aberdeen probably are bottom six. I still look at Aberdeen as being either the third or fourth.
Yeah, but let's take into context of where what the score line is and how that game's looking. I mean, it wasn't like
he does what he does.
He does, though, Terry. And the thing is with Turnbull, the role for Turnbull that Rodgers will probably be looking at for him benefits Celtic because it's one that you can count on. He's going to get you 5 to 10 goals a season. He's not gun shy. He's going to, if we need to start like having a few more pops at goal, he's not going to be one not to do that. But Celtic have a level in their mind of where Turnbull's at that I think will be a lot lower than where David Turnbull's thoughts of himself at, and that's not because I think he's a world beater or anything like that, or he thinks he's a world beater. But if he's going to stay at a club like Celtic beyond the end of this contract here and extend it, I think he'd be wanting more assurances than the appearances that he's getting right now. Right now, I would just say
given the contracts were getting given out like confetti, and he didn't get one or he didn't sign one,
I don't think he'd want it. That's why.
What do you think? What do you think? Do you think he signs a pre-contract in January for Sunday?
I've got a feeling he might be one. I don't think it'll be January. I think he'll be way further down the line. I think he'll want to see if you've got the belief in yourself, which I do think he does. Then, and your point of your bone of contention, right, is I want to stay at Celtic, but I don't think you're valuing me where I should be. Like I wanted to be first team. See, well, you've still got time to dictate that and influence and shift their opinion of you. He'll back himself to do that. I think if he was going, I think it'll be like March, April time before, if there was a pre-contract signed elsewhere, before he actually does. So I think he'll give himself a few months still of going, no, if I keep scoring, you'll need to keep playing me. And then if I keep playing, and I'm not convinced this is how it would play out. I think in his mind, if you keep playing me, I'll do enough to warrant, that elevation in the manager's thinking. My own personal opinion is David Turnbull won't cut it if Celtic are trying to evolve as a club, first team wise.
If David Turnbull played every single game in the league season, 38 games from the start, most of the minutes, how many goals do you think he would get? I think he'd get 15 to 20.
No, he wouldn't. He'd get 10
I think he would.
15,
I honestly think he would. Every game, if he plays every game, first 70, 75, 80 minutes, I think he'd get 15.
Fuck.
No.
No, well,
he's only
no.
He's only a bit part player. He's the joint top scorer in the SPL.
Is he? Fuck.
Yes, it showed it up. Did it not show up today?
It's not O'Reilly.
6 goals. O'Reilly. He scored the exact same. O'Reilly, Kyogo, and Turnbull. Sky put it up, a graphic. O'Reilly, Kyogo, Turnbull, and fucking Tavernier penalty. 6 goals each. I think if David Turnbull played 38 games from the start and he played most of the minutes, 60, 70, 80 minutes, I reckon he would score 15 to 20. Honestly, no problem. No problem. He's a bit part player, and every time he comes in, he scores. Yeah, he's got so many deficiencies in his game. He's too slow. He holds onto the ball too long. He doesn't see the pass quick enough. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. He fucking scores goals.
Interesting one from Pato, who comes in. Always good to have you on the bus, Pato.
I think he's gone. I do think he's gone.
Turnbull's the demeanour of a guy who knows he's leaving. He doesn't even celebrate goals. He strikes me almost a wee bit he finds it cringe when he scores. I don't know why. I can't explain it. He looks a bit sheepish after he scores. It's hard to see when he did the fingers in the ear. Do you know what? I know people won't like it, but I thought that's more character I've seen in David Turnbull at times than I would have liked to have in the past. I like to have seen more sort of spunk, Terry, for want of a better word, right from him. And I think he's channeled it the wrong way with that.
Position him against Ryan Christie?
Oh, fuck off. Like, just
no.
He irritated the life out of me, mate. Genuine truth, I would be lying if I said that excited me in the slightest.
No, I'm saying Turnbull versus Ryan Christie. What's your thought on those two players? Are they miles apart?
Turnbull's less irritating.
But Ryan Christie is playing every single week in the EPL.
And getting 2 goals a season, mate. Good on him. I'm proud of him. And he's just signed a new deal at Bournemouth. So,
is Ryan Christie a better player than David Turnbull? I think he is. It's marginal.
I think David Turnbull would argue he's probably a bit better than him. But again, it'll come down to traits that you can't teach. And he's just Ryan Christie's far faster than what David Turnbull is. And David Turnbull, instantly, when you talk about why he doesn't work in the Celtic team, the first thing someone will say on almost every single reply that you see when it comes to David Turnbull, whether it's in type or whether it's a conversation, is a bit slow though for this Celtic team. Just a bit too one-paced.
But if you pull the trigger from 20
first
yards,
thing, I know, mate. I'm not
single game when you score.
That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm trying to make is that is what everyone seems to instantly go to. It's the go-to matter of fact about Turnbull is just too slow, too one-paced. You see it all over the place. Okay. O's double.
Let's go. Next. Then.
Let's talk about his double.
Palmer. What a ball from Palmer.
Yeah, beautiful. We're talking about that.
You scored that.
Yeah, absolutely. Then you get the one-on-one finish. He goes near post instead of... But firstly, squaring it to James Forrest, but fuck that. Do you know what I mean? You've had enough goals. A striker, I don't. Did that annoy you at all? No. For me, I'm all for it. I think you need to see strikers be greedy. A greedy striker. A greedy striker's a striker who's determined to score goals. That's the remit. So I have no issue with that whatsoever. And the reason as well, right, that the narrative slightly changes with O is, had he not scored that crucial goal the other week, Terry, I think I could, but he did get this double. I'd be talking about meaningless goals. But now I'm giving them a lot more credit because he scored one of such substance the other week and now he's backing it up with goals. Even when the game was done, he's showing that hunger, showing that coolness in front of goal. And it's not just because there was no pressure on. He's shown he can do it when there's pressure on. Now he's doing the other side. If he hasn't got that goal late on, right, that when there was pressure on, I don't think I'm as impressed by the 2 goals today. So there's a compliment in that, mate. But that goal that mattered now gives all the other goals he scores after it, I think, a lot more sort of credit and opens everyone's eyes a wee bit more to him being part of the conversation as to who's going to be playing up front for Celtic in games. And that's all you should be looking for as a bare minimum. If you're the only other striker at the club, you've got to at least be in the conversation to start football games. I don't believe he's been in the conversation in the first 11 months he's been here to start a game above anyone. Get yourself in the conversation first and foremost, and then we'll take it from there. He can't do much more than he's done today, Terry.
What do you say we've got Kyogo, obviously, right? You can choose any other striker in the SPL to be your backup striker. Is there anybody you've seen that's better than O from any of those teams? If you had a choice right now of who would be your number 2 striker after Kyogo, and you can pick any striker in the SPL, would you pick anyone else other than O?
Miovski.
What did you see from him today?
Nothing.
Fuck off. Absolutely nothing.
But I've watched him a few times. I like him as a player anyway.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. Strikers rely on opportunities, but
I do like him as a player.
O would be in the conversation. It's not as if you're going to go and he would be in your top 3. Based on what you know.
Wait for the chat to erupt with Lawrence Shanklin's talk.
Probably, but
It will. Definitely.
probably
I wanted Liam Boyce just to rejoin us, mate. Do you know what I mean?
it probably will. No,
I've always wanted Boyce to score for Celtic. That'd just be great. Right, okay. Let's talk about a couple other things. I starred a few comments, Terry, right?
okay.
Earlier
well,
on. Let's do these. We've got a wee bit of time. Loopy 33 earlier on. Good to have you on, by the way, Loopy. Wants to see more of Ralston.
Also, this is a good point.
Johnston isn't doing it for me lately now. Our Canadian pundit, the punk.wall, Liam Greenlaw, even he, who's been a massive advocate, obviously, of AJ, and rightfully so, because he actually had the inside scoop on him. I don't think that was on any other Celtic pod that you could have heard, that we just happened to have a guy based in Vancouver who could go, oh no, he's a player. He's not been shy in saying he's off the boil now, for whatever reason. He is not in form. The point of having competition in the squad, Terry, isn't so you get guys that are comfy being a number 2 for that position. It's got to be competition that is fiercely competed for. Ralston right now, if it's the Tony Ralston we all think it is in training, will be busting his gut out every day. So there's no denying he'll be pushing and pushing and pushing. I would like to think, on the form that AJ's in, bringing in Ralston wouldn't be something that the manager would be against now. I think Johnston isn't on form right now. And as soon as you're off form for Celtic for a few games and you've got someone else chomping at the bit, get them fucking in, give them a run.
So, why do you think he's out of form? What are you basing that on?
Hard to
Are you basing that on the defensive element, or are you basing that on the fact he's not getting to the byline 5 times a game and getting assists and things like that?
I think
There's been a couple of goals. There's been a couple of goals. There was,
that's
if
what
I think
we
about one of the European goals, was it Morata's equaliser at home, where Morata's coming in from the left-hand side. That's Johnson's area. He's got to command that. But I think Johnson is still playing. He's still playing solid, but I don't think he is anywhere near the attacking force that Juranovic was, or that Tony Ralston was when Juranovic was here. But by the same token, at the same time, when Ralston has opportunities, I don't think he's been the same attacking force that he was previously when Juranovic was here. So if I had to pick a team for tomorrow, I'd still be picking Johnson. I think he's still been solid. I think we're just expecting...
I was expecting to kick on a wee bit more, though.
Hey?
I was expecting to kick on a wee bit more.
On the attacking side,
he's not playing better than he was last season.
No, he's not. He's not.
That's what you're looking for.
Ralston is nowhere near what he was when he was challenging Juranovic. Ralston's not at that level. He's had opportunities, and he's not looked the same.
Domestically, though, if you can do a job and you're going to give him another new deal like we did this season, then I don't understand the point. If someone's off form, that tells me you've given him a new deal. When someone's off form, then I want to see the other one given at least a fair crack.
I don't think either of them are playing at the peak of their powers.
One of them's not playing.
Well, he has. He's had opportunities.
Right.
Johnson's been out. Ralston's had chances. And I know it might seem harsh, but some of these guys are only you're getting 190 minutes or you're getting 290 minutes to stick your claim. It's like we said about Scales earlier. When Scales gets this imminent suspension, whoever comes in, Nawrowski, Lagerbilge, Phillips, they've got 90 minutes to stake their claim. If they don't do it, then Scales is back in again. And that's the harsh reality of it. And Ralston has a chances. He had games, and he was nowhere near the Ralston under Ange season 1. He was nowhere near it. And I totally get... I expect a wee bit more from Johnson. I think he's been reasonably solid, other than that goal that I've pointed out. And there's been a few other times where maybe a player has ghosted in from the left-hand side and he's been exposed a wee bit, but I still think he's been solid enough defensively. I think we just expect more from our fullbacks. We expect more from our fullbacks. We expect him to be marauding. We expect him to be going to the byline. We expect him to be getting involved in the attacking side of things. And he probably hasn't done that as much as I would I would hope from him. But if you had to pick between the two tomorrow for one game, you'd go with Johnson all day long.
I think that's fair. All right, I've got another one for you.
Go ahead.
I knew this would come up because obviously the two teams played today, right? And it's back-to-back on Sky, which is weird.
Absolutely no chance.
Do we need referees' favour to win the title? All
No
about the hoops asking. There's a dig that he's trying to get in there, though, obviously, Terry. And that's what he's trying to... all about the hoops is highlighting...
We don't need that pish.
The penalty gates... I mean, that first one at the Rangers... I don't know if you watched the Rangers game before
No, I didn't watch it, Bhoycie.
I always wait till the score.
My young lad was playing this morning.
Oh, good.
Then I got absolutely soaked. So then I had a bath when I came back. I didn't watch it, but I seen the Bhoycie Bus chat, and I seen there was penalties, and I seen all this kind of shit. And then I probably turned it on after a bit just to see what was going on. I was kind of just waiting for the Celtic game to come around, but that first penalty, and it's quite ironic because that young lad. That young lad was born and raised 4 miles away from me, and I used to play against his dad in the old Saturday morning league. That young lad McCausland. So fair play to him. Fair play to him. He's made it as a professional player. But me and his dad used to kick lumps out of each other in the old Ballymena Saturday morning league. So I know his dad. I spoke to his dad about 2 years ago about the young lad moving to Rangers and all of that. But that is a joke decision, an absolute joke. You see it in real time, and it's a dive, and then it goes to VAR, and then it's still a penalty. It's an absolute joke. And the only irony of that whole thing is that young lad scored a cracking goal later in the game, and the referee disallowed it, probably wrongly as well. But I think he probably deserved it for getting a penalty for a dive, but. I mean, that's 4 penalties in 2 games. 4 penalties in 2 games.
How does that one... see, the thing is with the penalty, the first one, it's never a penalty, right?
No, never.
So
the second one is, but some days you get it and some days you don't.
How the fuck was the first one not went to VAR?
No, I don't know.
That's beyond me. Like, that's when
it's beyond belief. It's beyond
belief. For people who want to say, like, oh, the fix is in and all that, and then get derided for it, their argument and their evidence strengthens almost on a weekly basis. Their number of penalties, Terry, is astronomical. It's off the scale. They get every single one.
That's the thing. That's the thing.
You can clearly get it.
See a lot of them.
Everyone.
A lot of them are penalties, right? A lot of them are penalties. But the 50-50s always go that way. The 40-60s always go that way. The 30-70s always go that way. You see where I'm going with it?
On, mate. No, that's exactly it.
That one today is a joke. See, I can get the referee giving it, right? I can get the referee giving it. I don't know who it was. Was it Nick Walsh?
Right. All about the hoops is he revisited his post.
Yes, we win the league all day long.
The question is, can we win the title against the cheating?
We win it all day long.
I think
doesn't matter what they do.
It's undeniable as a desperation, though, Terry, to make sure, like, they disallow their goals. So it's like penalty straight away. Don't look at that. Not even for 3 seconds. I thought they all. See, this is what I love as well. I'm sure we've had this conversation when it's been us. And it's been fucking the narrative that, every decision goes to VAR. If it's a goal, like, it always goes to VAR. Remember we were scoring goals last season. We didn't know what the minute hold-up was. Every goal that you score goes to VAR. Did you not know that? If that's the case, how come that penalty decision hasn't went to VAR? Like, at any point, it just was straight. And you could hear Kenny Miller backtracking because he thought it's going to go to VAR and be disallowed. He goes, it looks like
VAR. Every decision goes to VAR.
We keep getting told this, Terry, that penalty thing must have been about 3.5 seconds. About, Stonewaller. That's what it must have happened, mate. It was,
that's
no delay. I was watching
decisions in those games go to VAR and they're resolved within 2 or 3 seconds.
Seconds, mate. And I think
in answer to the last 2 points, it does not matter. It does not matter what happens in their games. I expect them to win every single game for the rest of the season, except the games they play against us, and we will outperform them in those games. So no matter what they do, we'll win this league. Absolutely no doubt whatsoever. But at some point, somewhere along the line, somebody has to have a look at what's going on in the Scottish Premier League in terms of the penalties awarded at one end of the stadium and the penalties awarded or not awarded at the other end. It's totally embarrassing and it's laughable. And do you know what?
The numbers are incredible.
When we're sitting here probably halfway through April and we're lifting this big thing again for the next season, it just makes it all the sweeter when you know that you've done it despite everybody's best attempts to stop you from doing it. And that's the difference. It doesn't make it right though, Bhoycie. And at some point, we need somebody with a backbone at Celtic Football Club, not amongst the playing staff, not amongst the manager, because it has to be somebody else at a higher level. Somebody at some point has to ask a question. Well, what the fuck's going on here?
Well, Terry, you see on that point, what did you make of Brendan? Brendan calling out the Boxing Day thing. I think it's 7 years in a row we've played. Enjoying that, pal. He just seen me pour a vodka and he just got himself all excited and he started slurping away his wee straw, pouring massive halves that would knock out a coup.
Talk to yourself for 2 seconds here. I need a mixer. I need a mixer.
I've been talking to myself the last fucking hour, mate. But I'll get the thoughts in the live chat. I'm a professional. It's no problem to me to be on my own. I'm not a professional, by the way. What did you make? Oh, jeez, I don't hear you leaking, mate. What is he doing, man? Mute your mic. Fucking hell. What did you make of Brendan calling out the fixtures, being away from home on the Boxing Day? The judge was talking about it the other night as well. Now, Terry's saying you need someone with a bit of backbone. Well, Brendan had the balls to call out one aspect of what he thinks is a wee bit of unfair treatment towards Celtic, and that would be looking at how come we're always away from home right after the Christmas Day. Now, Mark's theory, and I think he's probably right, is that now it's been called out, wait till you see Celtic play at home next season and that, because it's been called out. Had we not called it out, they would go on and on and on, pushing it, putting us away straight after Christmas. I think that's what it was that Brendan was highlighting. So when you talk about backbone and calling things out, I think with Brendan doing that the other day, Terry, on the fixture list matter, saying, we're very, very unlucky or there's some mischief going on behind the scenes, I'm not against him doing that, mate. And if, let's say the judge is right, and I kind of lean towards what he's saying to be accurate, and we do end up at home that next season, funnily enough, after it's been called out, that might then tell you what you need to know, that it does need to be called out. Otherwise, they'll just you give them an inch, they'll keep taking a mile, mate.
It was a wee bit like that penalty today, boys. That penalty was given at 2-0 up in a home game against Aberdeen with 15 minutes left. If that game was 0-0 today, that penalty wouldn't have been given. Absolutely no doubt. That penalty would not have been given at 0-0 with us on the verge of dropping points at home. Absolutely no chance. It's one of those ones that Phil McGinley talks about. It's a token gesture so that you can't. You can't cry wolf that you didn't get your penalty that you were due. It's one of those ones. Yeah, let's give it in the moment that it wouldn't have mattered. I think. See the game after Christmas. The thing about that is, and the thing I liked about the manager was, I don't think that really affects the players overly, but that one was about supporters. That one was about fans at Christmas having to travel up and down the country the day after Christmas. I think that was.
Here he goes again. Go and tell us about those boats and that, Terry. Going.
No. I'm not going about the boats.
I'm not joking.
But that's probably part of Brendan's charm offensive to get the fan base on side. The ones that haven't embraced his return and stuff like that. It's a good point, but. Here's the thing as well, Bhoycie. Look at the fixtures this season. Look at the fact that we're now coming up to this period where we're going to have quite a few home games because the fixture computer just so happened to give us the hardest 6 away games in the first phase of fixtures.
And that can happen.
The chances of that happening are very, very low, but it happened.
Cool Daddy, interestingly, I'm not getting into the politics of it all, by the way, so do not worry. But he is right, and as an observation of another coincidence, they are always at home on Remembrance Weekend. Like, they are always at home that weekend. That is so accurate. I wonder when the last time they played away on Remembrance or the Remembrance Weekend is.
Yeah, but
It's a fair spot. It's an observation. We're not getting into all
hold on. They were away today.
I'm away home.
They were away today.
Were they?
Rangers were away today at Livingston. We were at home. I think the point possibly is we're always at home because they want to try and make an example because we can't do the minute silence and all of that. Rangers were away today.
Yeah. I'm pouring that vodka down the sink. I'm away home.
Have I missed something here?
No.
Rangers were away today. We were at home.
I just jumped in the bandwagon, mate, with Cool Daddy.
No, we always seem to be at home.
What? It just sounded like I knew I was talking about. We always seem
to be at home on this weekend, and then the focus becomes on this minute silence that probably shouldn't happen. There should be some kind of. I don't want to go into it. When you heard the tannoy, it was talking about a minute's silence for the Celtic family that have lost their lives.
Cool Daddy is Ryan fact checking. I was letting Cool Daddy do the fact checking, but I love this from Cool Daddy because you know a trademark of the Bhoycie Bus, Terry, has always been don't back down, double down. Usually they are.
That's fair enough.
I love it, Cool Daddy. You are right, and John Mullaney just comes in there, a new member on the bus. Top lad. Right, there was one other I wanted to bring up to you, Terry. I know we've been a wee bit longer, but it's fun on a Sunday.
I don't mind. I'm okay.
Good, mate. Good.
I'll stay on as long as the people want to listen to shite.
Yeah, there's 181 still on the bus right now. Atmosphere awful today. Bring back the GB, and again, it's Cool Daddy. Funnily enough, I started this from ages ago. Let me give you my take on it first for a wee change.
Okay.
Now, for me, I think the atmosphere did seem what would be the word? Bland. Let's just say it was middle of the road today, right? It was a bit middle of the road, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the GB has to be the answer for all the other clear obstacles that are being brought with regards to that and difficulties. Now, I know there's tit for tat going on. I always say keep your eye on the board. I also find the statement o'clock stuff from like supporters groups and that a wee bit cringe, if I'm honest. I read it like I'm reading this behind my fingers. But the atmosphere undeniably was downbeat today. There's no getting away from it. You can observe that a million miles away. No matter who you are, if you're watching it on the telly, you were at the ground today, it was a bit quieter. My question on that then would be, why does that necessarily mean you have to bring back the GB to create an atmosphere? Yes, they are the common denominator because they're missing right now in action, and that leads to no fans. But that over time would adapt naturally into there'll be another section of sorts that will maybe be the instigators and songs beginning to then ripple across the stadium and be sung. The GB right now are the catalysts for the starting of songs being sung. And right now everyone's in a wee bit of a space where they're a bit lost as to who decides what song right now, because they've been at the sort of forefront of it. That's never going to be something that just changes it, GB aren't there one week, and already there's a group or an area of the stadium that have took it upon themselves to be the sort of conductors of the next chant that's to be sung. That's something that takes progression and takes time. I do agree the atmosphere was awful today. I absolutely agree that over the last decade it's been the GB that have started every song. I don't agree they need to be the answer though either going forward. It's not as binary as that. Celtic Park's had songs sang it long before the GB. So let's not make them the only solution to that. Sometimes the long game would be, the long game or will be, you just need to let things play out. And the way it'll play out is Celtic Park will eventually start booming, and it will start being, all those songs that were written years and years before the GB ever existed will all naturally get sung in the stands again. We just don't know where yet. Don't be afraid of the unknown. No one knew the GB were going to come along and have such a influence, shall we say. Not saying positive or negative, ladies and gentlemen. Just saying no one knew they were going to come along and have the influence that they've had when they did, however many years ago it was. Before that, songs were being sung then. We didn't know where the jungle wasn't something that came as a part of Celtic when Celtic first were formed. It's something that evolved and came through time. That'll happen again. We have to be fair on it. I'm not saying the GB don't create the atmosphere, cool daddy, or haven't for the last decade or so and been the longest, but do they necessarily mean it's a binary as argument, Terry, as it's the GB or no atmosphere? I tend to disagree. I just think you have to have a transitional phase when one's not there to whatever the next one will be. No one knows what it will be.
But see, I think the success that Celtic have had over the last 15 years probably contributes a lot to the atmosphere at the games. And we've talked about this. You go into these games, and because of the success we've had, you expect to win every single game domestically. And you go along to the games expecting to win, rather than probably going along to the games thinking, as a support, we need to make a contribution to help get the team to a position where they can win the games. And I remember going back to when I started going to games 38 years ago. You go along to the game and you're an absolute bag of nerves because you don't know what's going to happen. Whereas nowadays you go to the game and you go there expectant that you're going to get the result, and you sort of sit back into your seat and wait for it all to happen in front of you. And I think that's just because we're a victim of our own success. Over, as I say, the last 15 years or so, we've been absolutely dominant domestically and won the vast majority of competitions that have been there to be won. That's not a criticism of the support, but I think it's a different dynamic where you go to a game thinking we can make a difference, to you go to a game thinking it doesn't really matter what we do, the players are on a different level to the opposition and they'll do it. And I just hope the Green Brigade have been an absolute breath of fresh air because of that 90 minutes of constant singing and chanting and creating an atmosphere, and the rest of the stadium feed off it. I just hope in the next 2 weeks before the next home game that both sides are able to get together and come to some sort of agreement that allows those guys to come back into the stadium, help create the atmosphere, but also do so in a way where the club are satisfied that all the safety regulations and all the rest can be met, and we can just get back to normal supporting Celtic, everybody together, and supporting the team on the pitch and helping get the results. I think this 2 week break, as much as it's a distraction for the players, it gives a real opportunity for that situation to be resolved. I mean, at the end of the day, you look at the amount of people that are inside Celtic Park, 60,000 plus, whatever. According to the reports that I've read in terms of the club publications, the Green Brigade population is something like 267 of those 60-odd thousand people.
Yeah, I thought it was a far larger number when I first seen it.
Like I don't think they command that whole section. I know some people from here that go over and have got tickets for that section, but they aren't actually in the Green Brigade. So I don't think they occupy that whole section, but all of their members are in that section. Yeah. That's how I read it. Let's just hope the whole thing gets resolved, because, boys, here's the thing. At the end of the day, we all support Celtic, and you and me both know in the old podcast, the podcast business, that I don't really care a jot for. No, but do you know what I mean?
I've not picked on a wee fella in ages, man. I've been so nice to him recently.
There's so many factions within the podcast stratosphere. And you're just going at the end of the day, hang on a minute, do we all support the same team, or do we hate each other more than we hate Rangers or all this kind of stuff?
Well,
we're all Celtic fans. I go to the
still
stadium.
stand by in life. You can have different opinions from people.
Yes, you're allowed to do that.
But without, you don't need to like everyone based on, they're a Celtic fan.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I suppose the bit that I love what the Green Brigade do. I love the atmosphere that they create. I suppose the other side of it is, if I go to Celtic Park and do some of the stuff that some of those guys do, I probably get thrown out and banned for life.
Sure.
Like if I go in and start painting the inside of the stadium and all that kind of stuff, I probably get chucked out and I'm never allowed back again. So
is there an element, right, that, and I've seen this before, by the way, in the podcast thing, where it goes to your head when you start thinking you've got a bit of clout, right? And it's undeniable when
you've 20 years.
You know, when Don Mackay slips in your DMs, I mean, the wee fella, it did go to his head. There's no two ways. He thought he had sources at the club and stuff. Like at times it was I was cringing for him. Do you know what I mean? When he was telling me Shevchenko was taking over and that, and I'm like, mate, whoever's told you that's thrown you an absolute dumpling, a story to see if you'll leak. And I wonder at times the self-importance maybe of the group is where fans lose their patience as well. See, at the end of the day, as much as we might not like rules are there in place that I think they do kind of need to be respected a bit, no? Like, we can't just break the rules because we think we know better. Notwithstanding that, I will go back to my very consistent point on, see today, if a minute's silence is to be observed over war, then I don't understand why you can't fly a flag when there's a war going on. I don't know why Ukrainian refugee children get a massive section of free tickets from Celtic. That to me is absolutely nailing your colours. Oh, I can never get that saying right. What is it? Flag to the mast? Whatever it is. They are colours to the mast.
Colours to the mast.
That's the one. They undeniably took a side there, a political stance by doing that, but yet will not allow the same opportunity to people who spend thousands of pounds to go to Celtic because they might not think it's on brand. And that is, to me, regardless of your side in it, and I think we can all decipher what side I would be on, but I don't like going into all that. I just find it so frustrating, that hypocrisy from them. But the other side is, they had a body of evidence built up by then that all they waited on is to go, oh no, that was the icing on the cake. And here's example A, B, C, D, as you say, spray painting or going in and setting up flags, basically essentially breaking in, but that's how Celtic are going to dress it up. Do you know what I mean?
I think the painting was all allowed. The club allowed that, but yes, it's the other stuff like
going into the stadium without permission and stuff. Is pushing boundaries. Whether we agree with not everything needs to become like totally emotional and like a really powerful statement we're trying to make, guys. So we'll just fucking ask them then if you care that much. You know what I mean? Like, breaking into the stadium ain't all that good either. There's two sides to it all. I just think there's a bit of self-importance that comes out for these fan groups. I mean, there's another one doing statements saying they're not going to be in attendance till their situation resolved. We demand talks. And I'm like, demand talks? Well, like, some of this stuff I think sounds a wee bit above its station, Terry. That's the way I see it. But Hugh Keevans did an article today. It was interesting because he brings it into. Did you read it?
No, I haven't seen Keevans.
And he's talking about, how the season could implode for Celtic, and he is factoring in the fact that, Rangers are on the up massively. I mean, they're doing okay. They're getting a lot of helping hands as well, but they're doing okay. But at the end of the day, they're 8 points behind right now, albeit they've got a game in hand. Yes, they do. And they got to play first today because the 11-point gap would have been too much for people to handle. That's the only reason they played before us today. They played before us.
Do you believe that, though, Bhoycie? Because that would have been sorted out weeks ago.
Sorry, not about the 11 points. Not about the 11 points. That would have just been the final nail. Like, that would have been another nail in the coffin. How many coffins can you have? But The point is, what they always try and do is at every opportunity make sure Rangers play before Celtic to avoid things like, if Rangers could extend the gap at the top, even better. If it means they can, for a brief period of time, shorten it, what they don't want is Rangers to be the ones under the cosh and having to play after. That's so obvious, it's unreal. Anyway, Keevans is talking about that gap could be cut, and he's saying, Rodgers walked into a situation where he's not been back, in the summer. Europe's been an absolute nightmare. Fans at loggerheads. And I do see, I think he's trying to be hysterical as always, right? Don't get me wrong. And you could spin it into loads of positives at Celtic right now. But I do find these other sideshows, Terry, distractions that neither a manager who's trying to win over the supporters to an extent and still has doubters in it, or people maybe waiting for his first fuck up or major fuck up to, absolutely hammer him for it. You don't need all that going on in the background as well. It ain't good for business. Today, of course, is the opposite. We get a 6-0 win without the GB there. I'm pretty sure if and this is me just being balanced, I think if we'd lost today, I think, a lot of people would be in here going, see, no GB, Celtic weren't the same, they needed motivated from the stands. I could have heard that as well. But it is a sideshow that no manager needs.
Do you remember, Bhoycie, it was either last year or the year before, the Livingston game at home where the Green Brigade weren't there for the first 30 minutes or something? Was that it? Or they left up for 30 minutes. So it was something anyway, and we ended up drawing the game at home.
There was a Livingston. Yeah, I was at it.
It was under Livingston.
And it was,
the only way Celtic don't win this league.
30-minute silence, mate. And then was it not one where they did tons of tennis balls? But I think they were right on that.
I think that was no.
That was over the. No,
I think the tennis balls was an away match, but there was a
home game against Livingston. It was 30 minutes. They went to the game.
Yeah, and they left.
But they refused to sing for the first.
Yes, that was it. That was it.
First half of the first 30 minutes. I think it was first 30 minutes.
The only way Celtic don't win this league is if we implode. And the only thing that can cause us to implode is if we aren't together, from boardroom to manager to supporters. At the minute, I think there's a disconnect between boardroom and manager in terms of the business that was done during the summer. But I also think there is then a disconnect between boardroom and supporters over the stuff that's been going on over the last few weeks. So I think the only danger to us winning this title is ourselves. And what I'm hoping is over the next 2 weeks, we can sort out that part between the club and the supporters, albeit a small proportion of the supporters, but a proportion that is very important to the atmosphere within the stadium. And then what I'm hoping in January is we can join the dots between the club and the manager in terms of the playing staff. But if we don't win this title, it's not because of what we've got on the field, the 11, the 15, the 18, the 21, whatever it is. It's going to be something out with that stops us from doing it. And that's unforgivable, probably, because the biggest challenge should always be the 11 players or the 18
I completely agree with that. I agree with that, mate. Absolutely.
That should always be the biggest challenge.
When does it get back
in terms of the match day squad, we beat Rangers hands down every day of the week. The only thing that can stop us this season is if that disconnect between club and supporters can't be resolved, or club and managers' expectations in January can't be resolved. If those two things don't happen, there's an opportunity that we could lose this league. But if we join the dots on both of those, there's absolutely nothing to worry about.
Well, this is it, because it seems as well you've got, in a lot of these situations, people struggle to be balanced, Terry.
And I see that English game's just gone 4 each, by the way. Chelsea. That's a slobber knocker.
I knew that 3 minutes ago, mate. It was sitting in the live chat.
That is a slobber knocker.
Defo, mate. Defo. A slobber knocker. Good one. What's that, mate?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. What was... Yeah. What you find with these situations as well?
The disconnects.
Yeah. So what you find is it seems like it has to be, one side of the fence or the other. Now, I don't sit on the fence because of the podcast. I'm just balanced in every debate. I try to be as balanced as I possibly can and see it from each angle, no matter what the situation is, whether it be life or whether it be football. Always try and look at it from both sides, and then you can either make your mind up and take a side, or you can kind of sit in the middle. And I'm in the middle on it because, firstly, I don't have that much of a right when I don't go to the games to ever be criticising people that part with the amount of cash that these guys in the Green Brigade do. I've got no idea what it must be like to be involved in the wars that are going on right now and stuff like that. So I completely empathise with that, and I can understand that I want to have a show of solidarity, particularly where there's already an occasion of 60,000 people congregated because of the football match in itself. So therefore, you're not having to organise a stance. You're going, well, let's make the most of the opportunity that you've got 60,000 folk there to show a bit of solidarity. I get that argument as well. But then we need to also look at the charge list, if you like, that Celtic's put on them. Seems to have to be date stamped. It seems to have a bit of substance. And that's where you need to look at going, well, have they got ahead of themselves at times? And then when they're not obeying the rules, it's like, well, you're already on a yellow card, mate. That sort of thing I get as well. I don't give a fuck about being hip or being cool or being on, in vogue with the majority of young fans and stuff. It doesn't bother me. I don't give a fuck. I don't need to be told what to vote for in politics and that all Tories are scumbags. I'm sure some of their pals are Tories. They just don't know it. I'm not having any 19-year-old and a Sergio Tacchini tracky Terry telling me who to put a cross in a box beside. Rest assured of that. And that's where I think people get ahead of themselves. That's where I'm like, shut up. Do you know what I mean? Like, just shut up. You've got no right to tell anyone who's welcome and who's not. And that is when you get ahead of yourself. But the other side of it is, of course, I think the board at times do not use massive amounts of money that not just the Green Brigade, but all Celtic season ticket holders and others who go to various games. You look at the judge again. I use him as an example often because he makes a lot of poignant quotes on these things. And you look how much he spends on. He has box office. I mean, the amount he spends on merch in a year, just alone in Celtic gear. I mean, how do people take that into consideration? There's a lot of money gets pumped into the club that board treat with disdain also.
Listen, you buy 4 shirts. You buy 4 shirts, an adult.
So $250?
An average shirt.
$280?
70 quid. 70 quid.
So it's $280 for 4.
4 sevens, 28, 280 quid. That's half a season ticket.
He got there.
That's half a season ticket.
Well, there you go.
Shirts. And imagine
imagine
if like me and you want to go shirts and shorts and all sorts. If you got the full kit.
Aye, well, exactly. I mean,
you're talking 100 for a full adult kit just to sit here and you're almost 50 years of age with your full kit. I'm like 50.
And that's where you can't give a free pass to either side. There has definitely been stuff the Green Brigade have done that I think's way beyond who the fuck they are, right? But there's a lot of money that goes into Celtic that Celtic treat, I think, with disdain and just are collecting it.
It's a given. It's a given.
And are not at any point giving you an insight or a bit of hope that the reason I'm buying that 4th shirt, right? Yes, okay, I want to support the club. Yeah, I want to support the shirt and I want to wear it. But I also would like to think there's a plan, like what you're going to do with this cash, right? Like, see this pot that I keep fucking pouring into? What's the plan? Celtic don't want to give you any insight to that. They don't want to give you any sort of scope. There's an aloofness about the board that I find also very distasteful, Terry. But whilst these two entities sort of live in the same world, they're going to need to try and get on. And I actually think I was a wee bit disappointed that Celtic have kind of went to the point scoring, like, statement o'clock stuff. Like, you're engaging with folk that you should be, again, I've just to contradict myself, be a wee bit more aloof than that stuff's for likes and clickbait and to get, people on side. I expect Celtic to have done their business and conduct it privately. Just get in contact with them then. Call their bluff. Phone them and go, come for a meeting, you bastards. Let's have a wee chat. Here is all the rules. Here's the emails that we're sending to explain them if they've got such a strong case. I think both of them going publicly, kind of talking to each other is cringe. And it could be dealt with a lot better.
Air your dirty washing in public, Bhoycie.
Well, exactly, and both sides are. And again, I just look at the football side of things, because that's what I am, a football fan. And I go, I want Brendan to be able to get to the levels he was before. And I think that's already enough of an uphill task and a difficult challenge without what's going on in the background, serving as such a sideshow. We don't need that, do we?
As I say, with 2 weeks now before the next match. Next game is Motherwell at home on, is it Saturday 25th? Last Saturday in November, whatever it is, whatever date it is, that's the next home game. That's the next home game. Let's hope that's 2 weeks, full 2 weeks. Let's hope the board, the Green Brigade, everybody gets together and everything gets back to normal for that game. I think if that doesn't happen, I think there's some kind of action that is proposed to take place between the Green Brigade and the other areas of support that support them. And I think they're probably going to try and engage the wider support to try and take some kind of action for that game. Because I'm coming over, I'm more than happy if there's spare tickets. If somebody holds them up, I'll take 2 of them. If you and John want to go, I'll take 4 of them. I'll do anything to get to the game. Let's just hope we can sort it all out and get all this behind us. And I think if we do, as long as Celtic are all singing from the one spreadsheet or hymn page or whatever you want to call it,
singing for the same spreadsheet. I love
if we can all sing from the same spreadsheet, I think we're looking at another title. I think we're another automatic qualification for the brand new Champions League. You don't want
new Champions League and a brand new Celtic. Is that what you're thinking, Terry?
It'll be brand new Champions League. It'll be same old Celtic. No, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. But we have to make sure we're there. And I genuinely think, no matter what about the bounce effect from Philippe Clement or whatever you want to call him, I don't really care what goes on over there. The only way we won't be at that table is if we implode within ourselves. And hopefully the collective can resolve all the issues that are going on and Celtic go on to win the league, get ourselves into that competition. Do I think we'll tool up the way I did this season? No, I'm probably thinking no, but the club might surprise us. But the most important thing is that we make sure we're at that dinner table. And the only thing that can stop us is ourselves as a collective. Here's
the other thing I wanted to bring up about that Hugh Keevins article very quickly. Because it was quite, at the very least, he sparks debate. I know people go, who cares what he thinks? Well, I quite like reading it, right? Because he's got a take on it's interesting. Based on the recruitment that's been done, based on the clear disparity, sort of different views between the board and the fans and the split between the fan base that can lead to. He says he'd be astounded if it remains as it is and they do another summer like that, if Brendan was still there next year. Do you think he'd still be there next year?
Brendan?
If it carries on the same? That's okay.
Yeah, I think he's dug a hole for himself that he can't get out of. He said, I'll be here for 3 years. How does he walk away from that? Not a chance.
Yeah, he can. I agree with you.
Yeah, but do you know what? See the wee Colo Touré interview? I don't know.
Oh, it was good. I watched it. Yeah.
Everybody's seen it, but the importance of that is just it puts across how much the manager actually does love the club. And I think a lot of supporters thought that Brendan, by the way he left, was a fraud. And I put myself in that. I put myself in that group as well, because I thought, you know what it's like, Bhoycie, when you're invested emotionally. When you're invested emotionally, you think to yourself, right, I work in this job or that job, or if I actually had the chance to be at Celtic, I would never leave. I would just stay there forever. But you don't know what that actually feels like to be an elite football manager in the UK and have the opportunity to advance your career, or you have the opportunity to be at the club you love on probably lesser wages with much reduced budget and blah, blah, blah. And we probably all sit here as fans and think, I don't care. I would just stay there. I would just stay at the club I love. I don't care if they pay me or not. I'll do this, I'll do that. But Brendan Rodgers, as an elite UK manager, has that decision to make around his career, his life, his family, and all of the things that are attached.
And the professional aspect. He's obviously still wanting to start and shine. He's still
He's got all those decisions. And at some point, at the point where that came along, he made a business decision, which probably was the right decision, to be honest. It probably wasn't the right emotional decision, but it was the right business decision. I mean, you're in business, you make the right business decisions, and he probably made the right business decision. But it's obviously wrangled with him. It's wrangled with him, right? And he spoke about it.
Yes, he's been torn, hasn't he?
Toure also spoke about it, how the manager wasn't happy about the way things happened when he exited the club. And the only reason we've got him back is because he wants to make amends. That's the only reason he's back.
Here's the thing as well, because it shows you the childish nature that we've all got as football fans. And I agree with you. I mean, when he left, I was fucking raging, you know what I mean? And I was. And we're all in that boat. But then the narrative changed into, do you know what? It was actually quite shite under Rodgers, like the last 18 months. See, if it had been shite under him, you wouldn't have been bothered that he'd left. That uproar wouldn't have occurred had it been as bad as people now want to talk about. Oh, it was turgid and it was boring and it was slow, it was laboured. And I'm like, see, if that was the complete case, right, and you weren't actually that happy with him as manager, there wouldn't have been such uproar at him leaving. The reason you were upset that he was leaving is because you know he was good, right? And that's the truth. Yeah. So, and I think now you're absolutely right. It was interesting hearing Colo Toure talk about it, and you're right. It rankled him, didn't it? It hurt him a wee bit. I think the reaction. He's got an ego too. We need to bring that into the equation. And his ego got knocked a bit. He thought they'll understand. They'll take my side over the boards, and instead the board went. I think history then was kind to Brendan. I think people, and I always thought that would be the case after like 6 months. I kind of started coming back round to going, do you know what? They're a fucking problem at times. They are a problem. And there is examples there. You can see why he'd came to not just making a business decision to go to Leicester. He may have made it anyway. Had he got John McGinn's and Pacini's and all that, he may have still made that decision, Terry.
John McGinn.
No one knows.
John McGinn playing that team.
But the fact he didn't, and you start weighing it all up, the more understandable the I'm out of here. Do you know what I mean? I'm out of here sort of vibe made more sense when you started looking at that.
Where do you think he's at now?
And stuff.
Bhoycie, where do you think he's at now? Because he's obviously gone down to the Premiership. He's done that stint with Leicester. He's overachieved. No matter what anybody thinks, he overachieved in them years he was with Leicester. Doesn't matter about the last year. There was lots of
the only club who didn't make a signing in the transfer window until the last day. Until the last day. So that's a massive part of that.
Where do you think he's at now, though? Does he want to have another go at that? Or is he at midlife mediocrity where he would be happy to stay with us for a dynasty, a long period of time as Celtic manager?
See, if you want a dynasty, as you're talking about there, then you have to find your bollocks though and own it. And you have to go, see, regardless whether I'm glad to be back and grateful to be back, the reason to get back though is to do the fucking job to the best of their abilities. And I think he was too passive at times over last summer. And I think that's haunted him in the Champions League. He is one or two players short that could have been achieved based on those accounts. Could have been achieved had a more direct approach had been taken by the manager. He did not want to upset the apple cart, I think, too early, Terry. That'll cost you. That's not a business decision. That, to me, is a frustrating one. Just going to quickly nip the chat in the bud. I think everyone's falling out. I think NM and Cool Daddy are falling out now. Other folk are telling them to shut up. So just do yourself a favour, stop interacting with each other, because they're not being like over the top nasty, but nobody needs to hear it. The bus is here to be enjoyed.
Unity.
Yeah, I know. This is worse than the Bold and the Green Brigade. Come on, news. But yeah, I think for me, if you want to talk about a dynasty, then it'd be coming back and being as assertive as you were the first time round. Fuck it. Yes, I've got the job. I'm here on merit as well. You were the best candidate for the job for a reason, Brendan. And that's not just to sit and take it all. Take everything that they say and just be, look, I'm nice. See, it's me. I'm nice, Brendan. That ain't what we want.
But see, what about the comments? What about the comments that have been attributed to the manager during the week there around there's a plan for the Asian guys going off in January? Because
I find it funny that people are only waking up to this now.
I know we talked about this 6 months ago, like February or something. We were
miles ahead on this on the Asian Cup stuff. It's a penny just drops now for people, and it's like, this is what I'm trying to explain to people.
Every chance Kyogo and O are away.
Yep, but no one wants a third striker. Last summer.
But the manager's comments are quite reassuring because he's talked about how we've known about this and we've planned for this. What does that mean?
There has to be a striker arriving in January anyway for me. Just in the fundamentals of our Celtic.
You think it's the Danish lad? It's probably the Danish lad because does their season not finish before Christmas?
Okay, I don't
know. Kiss Fargan or something. The Danish guy. The Danish guy we're recording.
Yeah, I remember that. The 6 million one. Yeah. I mean,
I've no idea what his output looks like. I've no idea.
Yeah, but regardless of, the Asian Cup obviously brings it into real direct focus. Absolutely. But the Celtic squad should always have at least 3 strikers in it. I think it's unacceptable to have £77 million in a bank account and only have 2 strikers. And one being very much okay, decent in the last couple of weeks. But for the first 11 months. But that's not good enough because he's
played in the World Cup as a striker, Bhoycie. I mean, what do you want? Do you want your third choice?
We were convinced he was a striker. Fucking played as a striker, mate.
Your third choice striker is playing in the World Cup as a striker. Come on,
stop it, Terry. Stop it.
He's not good enough.
No, far from it because it's not his position. It's not where he plays for Celtic. And if he was a convincing striker, he wouldn't be playing on the wing for us on the left or the right first before he plays up top. Get that right. It is an unacceptable situation. And by the way, he'll be away for the Asian Cup too. So you're still back to that problem. But I think fundamentally the squad should have 3 out-and-out strikers in it.
What happens? What happens January?
Well,
I was watching Phil and David on earlier, actually.
Brilliant.
I didn't see it live because my young fella had a game, but I always watch the Blether. I watch it from about 12 o'clock onwards, just as a repeat. And one of the best shows on the fucking Bhoycie Bus all week, by the way. But
I love it.
Most guys were saying we're probably actually only talking about potentially 2 games that we don't have all of those players for. But it depends. It depends what the position is at that time. If Philip Clement keeps the penalty kick FC in touch, it's still going to be an important time for us. But my gut feel is when the manager says we know about this and we've planned for this, then I'm expecting we have got something in place for this. But I don't know what that is. And just one other thing I want to touch on, Bhoycie, just when it's in my head. Do you remember Ange talked about he had plans to bring through some of the players from the B team and stuff, and he talked about that happening within 6 months. That 6 months is now gone. And last season, we had quite a lot of Ben Summers. Ange talked about how he had a plan to bring through some of the guys. But Rocco Vata and Ben Summers were quite involved in the squad after Christmas last year. But they've not been involved at all under Brendan Rodgers. What does that say for the youth team process? What does that say for the club's development process?
No, there's no. It's quite obvious that to both. I know you're saying they were involved. They weren't really. Let's be fucking real here.
No, but they were in the match day squad.
Yeah,
that's my brother. That's my brother. What's he talking about? 10 great strikers. He wasn't even alive. What's he talking about on dickhead?
It's just
Listen, Bhoycie, ban him right now. Ban him. He hasn't a clue, that guy.
I like him.
No, he hasn't a clue. He's an airhead.
Definitely sounder than you. He's sounder than you. I can tell already.
No, but Bhoycie, Ange was talking about bringing through these guys, and this.
Yeah, but Ange talked though, Terry. See, at the end of the day, right? Let's get a couple of things right. Ange didn't really play anyone.
Ange talked, everybody listened.
And he's got the best PR team ever. Brand Ange.
Yours.
We need that for the bus. We need his PR team, right? I swear to God, podcast of the month 3 months in a row. Maybe even take one of the wee fellas FCAs if got Ange's brand management.
Ban that guy there. I don't like that guy there. Ban him.
That's your brother, mate. I love him. He's sound as anything.
Ban him.
Sounder than you. Well, there's Connor Carr. He's one of our own. He's saying, "Evening, lads. Hope you are well. Is Uncle Terry on the milks tonight?" Well, there's been a couple of milks drank. Considering we're an hour and 46 minutes in, I'm not even done yet.
We're around 46 into a 20-minute show, yes.
But when it comes to youth, let's get it right. He didn't trust it either. I think whether it's
that's a disaster. That is a fucking disaster.
The whole thing, they fucked it. Now, if you listen to a lot of the pros, I don't know if they are a wee bit set in their ways, but even going back to like the James McFanny, they talk about it a lot in open goals, but particularly when he used to have a lot of different guests. Kenny used to do the Sci-Fi interviews them. They would all advocate reserve football. They would all advocate it. They went, that's how you learn. Because you're playing against guys coming back for injury, proper pros, and the learning curve was steep. Now, what they've thought was competitive football at any level, and it'll be the Lowland League that they're in, that should be similar with a lot of hungry players trying to make an impact. But managers of an elite level, like an Ange, like a Rodgers, look at it just through that black and white prism of going, it's too big a jump to think that would then take you into the Celtic first team. It's just too big a jump. And where the players are there, they're demotivated because they don't think there is a pathway. And the first offer they get of a proper career progression, they're wanting to take it up on. And that has led to now a situation where Celtic don't seem to have anyone now from the youth making that inroads into the first team. There's not one. You name me one player in the last 3 years you went, oh, fuck, he's got a chance. Oh, yeah. Ben Doak started getting used because they got one Liverpool were in for him, right? It's so obvious. I mean, I don't care what anyone says. That's why he suddenly started getting those minutes. They shat the bed at the last minute because they'd heard about the Liverpool interest. Started going, oh, look, suddenly he was shoehorned in out of nowhere.
Game time at Ibrox.
Look, there is proof that there's a pathway, Ben. And I'm like, yeah, you're reacting, not being proactive with that player. But
he's the dog's balls, by the way. He's the dog's balls.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just one of those ones that'll go. But it's just bullshit. Do you know what I mean? That was that was an Ange going, oh, look, don't get me wrong, he'll still come out at shining. It's Ange Postecoglou, of course he will. That wasn't Ange who's went, oh, see that Ben Doak, I knew from the minute I walked in here he was going to get game time. No, he played a few minutes here and there in the weeks leading up to him announcing he was joining Liverpool because they'd got when Liverpool were in for him.
Exactly.
It's token gesture bullshit.
Trying to stave it off.
Virtue signalling shite. Out with that, nothing. So quite obvious, the trajectory and the path, Terry, it don't add up, mate. It doesn't work. So how do we solve it? What's the resolution? I generally don't fucking know.
I honestly, Bhoycie, I'm in the same place as you because what I've said constantly over the last couple of years when I've been on the bus is there's no better time to be a youth player at Celtic when there's 9 substitutes allowed in the first team squad. 9 substitutes allowed. How can we not every single week have at least 2 players from that B team on that bench with an opportunity if the game plays out in such a way to get them exposure to the first team squad? Ange brought through Summers and Vata in the second part of last season where they were on the bench quite regular. But Brendan Rodgers has not had either of those guys on the bench at any stage this season, which suggests to you that they're so far removed from the first team squad that it's not happening. Like if you were interested in youth development, even if one of the guys from the youth team was 20% behind one of your first team sort of guys that were in between playing and not playing, you would probably go for the youth player just to give him that exposure. But the fact Rodgers has not included Summers or Vata or any of those players in his match day squad is absolutely damning of the youth team to first team process that we have in place. There's nobody even close to it. And I think Vata's due to be released at the end of the season. So the likelihood is he'll jump ship in January and go somewhere else where he thinks he's got a better chance of making it. Yep. And then you add on to that all the guys that went to Bayern Munich, the guys that have moved elsewhere, that youth team to first team.
And do you know why they go there, by the way? Very quickly. Just to nick in, I mean, they don't go to Bayern Munich expecting to ever play for Bayern Munich.
They've never played for Bayern Munich. They'll never play for Bayern Munich.
But they know that.
For the next million years.
But I think they go there still going, it's still better than doing what
it probably is
at Celtic. Well, of course it is, because that's why they're making the move. It definitely, they see it as. They don't go there going, I'll be in that first team of Bayern.
Look at Karamoko. Karamoko, from the age of 12, 13, was playing under 19s. He was going to be...
Only Celtic could
He was going to be the next big thing. Karamoko's fucking lurching about with Blackpool in League One. Like, how does that even happen?
Because Celtic didn't know how to deal with him either properly. I don't know. Again,
Islam Farouz. Remember Islam Farouz?
Yeah.
He went to Chelsea.
Who's the youngster that frustrates you the most? Or is there an example of a youngster that you were convinced was going to be a Celtic player?
It's Karamoko.
Yeah. Karamoko's got to be the most obvious.
Right,
give me another one then, because we've discussed them.
Just give me the YouTube
give me another one then.
Under 11s, under 12s, under 13s. He was dribbling around fucking 14 players from Barcelona and scoring in the youth team.
Give me another one. Mark Burchell, I was convinced, mate. He used to score every single time he'd get 10 minutes. He looked so good in front of goal. I think we loaned him to Ipswich, and he did pretty well. Did we loan him to Ipswich? It was Ipswich, I'm sure.
You know who's
and I really thought he was going to...
Tony Watt's frustrating.
Yeah,
you look at that breakthrough moment at under... He's 18, 19 when he scores that goal against Barcelona that
But
night.
we bought him from Airdrie, didn't we? 75,000.
50 grand. And he got that moment so early in his career, and he just didn't kick on from that. But Karamoko's got to be the one, because that was the golden ticket. That was the one that we thought, do you know what? We've got a talent here at European level.
Yeah.
We've got him. Like under 12, under 13, under 14, he's one of the best players in Europe. And you get that through, and you see him. He makes his debut in the first team squad. Is he still 16 or is he 17? He's one of the youngest. He's one of the youngest Celts of all time to play in a top team game. And do you remember he played? I think it was Scottish Cup, and he played against Aaron Hickey. And Karamoko was box office compared to Aaron Hickey. But Aaron Hickey's now made it as a really, really...
Well, yeah, that's your corner cars. He's got Andy Robertson, Aaron Hickey.
Now lurching about League One with fucking Blackpool. That's a very thin line as to what happens there. And is that on the player? Is that on the club? There's something that hasn't gone right there, because Karamoko was playing against Aaron Hickey. I think it was a 16-year-old against a 17-year-old.
Oh, really?
Karamoko was the great hope. But Aaron Hickey's the one that's gone on to make a great professional career at this stage.
And it can't always be that.
And Aaron Hickey was a Celtic as well.
Yeah, I know. But it can't always be that, Karamoko's attitude isn't right. Well, that's on us to fix that. We've got a duty of care there as well to go, come on, yes, players need to help themselves. But see, when you look at world-class examples of that, or potential world-class players, Celtic is on them as well. They don't get abstained from responsibility either. Look at the other one that's coming here for Celtic, Jamie Smith. Jamie Smith played in the Road to Seville in that. So I'm pretty sure Jamie Smith will go. I did my best. I just couldn't quite make. But I think O'Neill's one is interesting, because you think O'Neill, you got dinosaur and all this bullshit. He only played the first team boys, etc. But I remember him integrating. He tried to get Colin Healy game time when he first came in. Stephen Craney was trying to give game time to Jamie Smith. There's another one. Aidan McGeady gave his debut. He played up front with Larson, for fuck's sake, in his debut. That's incredible. It's just
what about the fellow that went to Man United?
John Kennedy, David Marshall.
Man United.
Very quickly. Liam Miller, who passed away.
What
it's so sad. So sad. But what? I mean, again.
But Martin gave those boys their chance.
He turned that Liam Miller that season before he goes for 50 grand a week to United. The 6 months leading up to that fucking because he signed a pre-contract.
He was bossing it in the Champions League, like.
Mate, he was shit hot for us that season. And you thought, wow, there's Lambert's replacement. This is what Paul Lambert looked at like playing for Celtic when he was 22, 23 would have looked like, in my opinion. You know, because Lambert obviously joined us when he was 29.
Yeah.
And his game did adapt over the years. I thought Lambert was fantastic for us, by the way, on a side note. But Liam Miller, you're going, that's some foresight for O'Neill there. The budget might have dwindled, and everyone goes, checkbook manager. Well, you tell me how David Marshall puts in those displays against Barcelona, Ibrox, because he was on the bench because O'Neill rated him as the second best keeper at Celtic, and he had faith in that 18-year-old, and he stuck with him. We're talking about before. You get a chance, there's a manager, be fluid with it, and go, well, if you get the jersey and you keep it, good on you. Sean Maloney, Condors comes in there. He started him against Stuttgart, mate, in that road to Seville because Larson had a broken jaw.
Do you remember the game he brought him on?
No, I'm just on that one, though. On that one, though, quickly.
Yeah, go ahead.
Remember? Larson breaks his jaw, we all panic. Sean Maloney plays up front against Stuttgart. Oh, we beat them 3-1. Sean Maloney scored. He would have been, 19, 20 then? A lot of players O'Neill gave a chance to then. He was not a checkbook manager as he's made out. But for whatever reason, and I don't know the ins and outs, but what was the pathway like? If you know the answer, tell me, Terry. What was the pathway like then to get into the team? Was there still reserve team football then? I would guess there was. And that was something that maybe made O'Neill more open to the idea of them playing in the first team? Must have been.
I think the pathway Bhoycie is exactly the same as it is now. If you're good enough, you'll get there. And if
John Kennedy played for New Camp, didn't he? John Kennedy at the centre back, but that was Mark.
Who is the last player to come through?
Tierney.
Surely. He's made it. He's made it because he was good enough. Do you know what I mean? If you are good enough, you will make it. It's my thoughts on it. You will force whoever's making the decisions to.
Let's play devil's advocate to that. We spoke about Liam Miller there. Liam Miller that season, it was the 03-04 season. I'm right? Yeah, it was because Henrik was his last campaign, right? Now Liam Miller at that point was 22, and that was his breakthrough season. So that's not something that's been identified, like you're saying, like if they're good enough to make it.
4 years late, to be honest.
So there has to have then been evidence to go, actually, he might be worth a crack now. That tells me the level that Liam Miller was playing at. I'm guessing it was reserve football then.
But Bhoycie, here's the interesting thing. See the lads that went to Bayern Munich. That's is that 3 years ago or 2 years ago? The two young lads. Was it
Morrison?
Hepburn and Morrison. Where are they now? Where are they?
I think one of them is back in Scotland.
Right. So
I think one's in the Championship.
So were they good enough to play for Celtic, or the fact they went to Bayern Munich, we're all panicking, going, "Holy fuck, they're sending our best kids." Where are they now? I think if you're good enough, you find a way to get there. And see, to be honest, right now, see the lads that are cutting about the B team in the Lowland League. Are any of those going to appear in 5 years' time as a Scotland international, or someday that we're going,
who knows?
Shit, how do we miss that? Like that has been talked about for a couple of years, but Ange's had a look. He's given minutes. Brendan's had a look. He's not given minutes.
Yes.
Are we expecting Rokovata to go on and be a top player? Probably not. Probably not. I think if you're good enough, you'll find your way.
You have to be given opportunity.
Do you have to be? No, you have to make the opportunity happen.
But let me tell you then, and I'm going to play devil's advocate on that right now. I watched
Liam McGrandles. You watched Liam McGrandles.
He says Bhoycie was never getting a game with that hairdo. You want to see me with a hairband on, mate? You used to look great back in the day when I had more hair. But yeah, do you know what, Terry? Right? You look back to O'Neill's first season League Cup. Yeah, we might have won the treble that year. He took risks with that team, mate. We pumped Hearts, I'm sure, but we scored 4 at Tynecastle. I can't remember the score. It was 4-2, maybe. Someone will correct me.
Here,
But
Bhoycie,
Cairney,
can I ask you
Colin
something
Healy,
quickly?
Jamie Smith.
Quickly. Can you talk for 30 seconds? I need a pee.
Yeah, kick on. So, what I'm saying is, yes, you have to be good enough. We also need the opportunity. O'Neill was given more opportunity for the League Cups. I think we're conditioned now to trebles having such a level of importance on them that managers are more reluctant now to take chances with his starting lineup and to give 5 out of the 11 to be players for the youth. They'll not do that now. Back then, O'Neill was giving them that chance, and then if they stood up to the test, then you might have a better comprehension on whether these guys can actually make it or fucking not. If they've never been given a chance, the likelihood is you're never going to think they're good enough. But it's too easy to say, if you're good enough, you'll get the chance. I think before that, you need to get the opportunities too to also prove your worth. Now, that is something that used to happen in the League Cup. But now, and this suits the board, of course, always comes back to this, domestic bliss. And because there's such an importance now on winning the League Cup as opposed to keeping players fresh for the League and Europe, that we don't see as many risks taken with the lineup and as many youth players getting that involvement as what we've seen before. It'd be interesting to see folks' thoughts on that. Connor Carr, do you think Scottish youth talent has been riding a crest of a wave over the last 10 years? That's the other interesting take. It's not like you would have to say the generation coming through at Scotland international level right now is extremely decent. Very good. As good as I can remember. So Brilliant. It seems strange that Celtic would be the I hate saying that word, anomaly in that and not being a part of that.
But boys, here's the thing. We had Hickey and Robertson both at Celtic and let them both go. We released both those players.
Who? Hickey
and Robertson.
Yeah. Great example.
Release both.
And there's Condors, just for a wee bit yesteryear. Charlie Mulgrew wasn't good enough, had to leave, then came back. I always find it interesting in Mulgrew because the impression I get is Mulgrew left. Why the fuck did he leave? For Lee Naylor? Swap? Is that right?
Don't know.
To Wolves? It was Wolves he went to, wasn't it? And I want
Charlie Mulgrew, boy. See, Charlie developed a wand of a left foot from set plays, which
I liked him at centre back.
I
liked him at centre back.
I think because he was left footed and because of his delivery, that then made him a prized asset. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't a world beater, but because
I liked him.
Because of his delivery, he was involved in so many goals, both from a setup perspective and also getting on the end of things. He then became someone that was very, very useful at SPL level.
Because he went to Wolves for like a year. I'm sure it was we signed Lee Naylor and he went to Wolves.
Look at the current Scotland setup, Bhoycie.
Can I finish?
Hendry, Porteous.
Fucking rude bastard, man. You can tell
Porteous and McKenna. Hendry was at Celtic. McKenna could have been. Porteous. Like those guys are bang average. But when they play for Scotland, they're absolutely amazing. And we could have had any of those.
True. I don't think I'd want McKenna though. If you're doubting Mulgrew, fuck me. What if Mulgrew's got a wand of a left foot? What the fuck Scott McKenna got of a left foot? A brick.
McKenna's played English Premier League. Like, you can't knock it. I would have took McKenna from Aberdeen. I honestly would. I would have took McKenna at that time. I thought, give him a job to do. Give him a marking job on somebody. He could do it. Like, he's not playing for Scotland for no reason, boys. This is one of the best Scotland teams in a long, long time. And Scott McKenna's knocking on the door.
Yeah, so how are none of these guys that seem to have that same Celtic connection? You're talking about players that had to leave. Did they have to leave, or were they just not getting the opportunity? That's what it comes down to. Was the door being slammed too quickly on players, and everyone's too averse to taking risks by playing a youth player in a League Cup game, because if you go out of the League Cup, it's a crisis. And to me, you need to move away from that. Start treating these tournaments the same way Wenger did. That's how you see youth progressing. Now, I know Arsenal didn't win things in the last sort of decade. Wenger was there. But if you look how he treated the League Cup, it would always be 11 youth players. That's how they get the experience, mate. That's how they do it. We are not giving that. We are not giving that. There'd be an outcry if we exit. We'll bring up the point in a wee second. There'd be an outcry if we go to the League Cup. There was when we went out to Kilmarnock. And I actually don't mind. See, if we went out to Kilmarnock and I went, look, that's what we've got. That's the level they're at. But was it not great to see 6-7 of those players playing alongside Callum McGregor? Was it not brilliant to see?
That's not what happened that night.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. You're not getting it.
I am getting it.
Taking that risk now.
And it's because we played 7 kids.
7 youth.
Then okay.
Brilliant.
We didn't. We played the first game. We still went out.
It'd have been so exciting.
Yeah.
But managers are scared to take that risk to do that now because of this stupid level of importance we've put on domestic third-rate tournaments and not on Europe. And that suits the board, by the way, just to bring it all back to them. Anyway, San Fran Celtic, you want to discuss this one? We'll do this as the last point. We've been on only 2 hours, 6 minutes. Still 170 on the bus, which is fantastic. Thank you so much. Evan Ferguson signed from Bohemians 2 years ago by Brighton. He's now worth 100 million plus. Don't know about that. But he's certainly worth a fair chunk of change. If we sign a player from the League of Ireland, we are told it's only because they're Irish. Bit of snobbery there. You're right, because you look at the case of Liam Scales and you go, it's took fortune for him to get in that team. And then once he's in it, you know, he looks
we're still banking on this new contract for January. I still think it will come.
Remember yeah.
The Scales contract. I think Scales
is coming.
I think he's only got a year and a half left. Surely we have to tie that down. Evan
Scales,
Ferguson,
2026. You can see it now.
Evan Ferguson's an interesting one because he shows so much when he plays, but when you step back and look at it, Evan Ferguson is only available 1 in 5 games. He's only available 20% of the time, and he's not playing. He's not playing because he's constantly injured. He's constantly recovering. He's an absolute quality prospect, but if he's only available 1 game in 5, he ain't going anywhere for 100 million. Evan Ferguson's probably worth 10, 15 because
he's doing very well.
Yeah, he's doing very well.
From the League of Ireland to the Premier League, that's what the point
player. But if you're only available 1 in 5, who's going to pay?
Well, let's forget the valuation, though. I think what the more case in point is, look at him delivering the goods.
There's players available level from leagues like the Irish.
Yes.
Like all that. Yeah. And do you know what? Liam Scales was one of the best players in that league. Liam Scales, anybody who follows that league would tell you Liam Scales was one of the top players.
Well, they were at the time. I was getting so many messages at that point in time.
Don't underestimate this guy. He's the real deal.
Yeah. A lot of that.
Yeah,
a lot of that. And
then he played a couple of games. He played a couple of games, and then people are going, nah, he's no good because he came from Irish League.
Maybe you are quicker to judge when it's a lesser league. I think that's fair comment. I think
we're all guilty
of prejudging. We're all guilty of that.
What has Liam Scales done to make Bernabei a better player than him? I said to him, many's a post-match game. I said, why is Bernabei expected to be better than Liam Scales? Because he came in for 4 million from Argentina. Liam Scales came in for 650.
What do you think we paid for Bernabei?
Hey?
What do you think we paid for Bernabei?
I think we paid the 4 million.
No way.
No, I know you're basing this on what somebody
he's on £5,000 a week
in his wage.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up, mate. If he's on £5,000 a week, it could not have cost us £4 million. That doesn't. That's
the figure. That's the figure that's out there.
Because Celtic were dressing up, I think what the expense was. I reckon he'd be 3.75 will be a figure that is all in if he gets like an international cap, if he wins like...
I think 375 grand would be closer to the mark.
Yeah, me too. And the rest is paid up. I would reckon it was $1 million up front. I bet it was about $1 million. And the fee sounded sexier being close to 4 million. There's no danger he was 4 million. Anyway, we're going to call it there. It's 7:15. I'm starving. Terry, it's been great fun tonight, mate. I've loved it. It's been a while since we've done one over 2 hours.
It's been a good day.
It's been a while since we've done one this long. Thank you to everyone who's stuck on the bus for as long as you have. Or if you've been on the bus.
Next one will be together.
Aye, man. I'm game, mate. We'll get it. I just need to work out what angle I'm going to get the mic up, but we'll do it all in Bhoycie Towers, mate. Don't you worry about that. It'll be fine. Anyway, look forward to that as well. Thanks to you all for watching. And keep your eyes on the board and have a great weekend.